The mashed potatoes were still warm on my plate when my son-in-law leaned back in his chair and asked the table, loud enough for everyone to hear, if I'd finally learned how to use a smartphone or if I still needed my grandkids to dial the phone for me. Everyone laughed. Even my daughter laughed, a small, nervous laugh, the kind that means please don't make this worse. I didn't say anything. I just kept eating. That was Thanksgiving. It wasn't the first time. It had been building for 2 years, ever since my daughter Michelle married Grant, a man who talked about his real estate closings the way other people talk about war medals, and who had decided somewhere along the way that I was the family punching bag. "Dad, you good?" My son texted me that night because he'd been at his in-laws for the holiday and missed it, but Michelle had apparently already told him. My son's name is Ryan. He's 34, quiet, the kind of person people underestimate right up until they don't. "I'm fine," I texted back. I wasn't. It got worse over Christmas. Grant made a joke about my old truck, called it vintage in a tone that wasn't a compliment, and asked if I needed help figuring out how to trade it in since I probably didn't know what a good deal looked like anymore. I'm 68. I ran a construction company for 31 years. I know exactly what a good deal looks like. I still said nothing. I told myself it was better to keep the peace for Michelle's sake, for the grandkids, for the holidays we still had left together. I told myself a lot of things that year to keep from feeling as small as Grant clearly wanted me to feel. Then came the birthday dinner in February, mine, at a restaurant Michelle had picked specifically because it was my favorite. Grant showed up 40 minutes late, ordered a bottle of wine without asking anyone else, and when the check came, he slid it across the table toward me with 2 fingers. "Since it's your special day," he said, grinning at the table like he'd said something clever, "figured you'd want the honor." A few people chuckled. My daughter's face went pale. "Grant," she said quietly. "What? It's a joke, Michelle, relax." He looked at me. "Unless the joke's too advanced." I forget, sometimes things go over your head at your age. That's when the door opened and Ryan walked in. Nobody had told him about the dinner. He'd shown up on his own, a gift bag in one hand because he always remembered my birthday without being reminded, and he stopped just inside the entrance, taking in the check sitting in front of me, my face, Michelle's face, and Grant still smiling like he'd won something. "What I miss?" Ryan asked, sliding into the empty chair next to me, voice easy, casual, like nothing was wrong. "Nothing," I said, "just settling up." Grant made a joke, Michelle said quietly, not looking at anyone. "About Dad and the check." Ryan set the gift bag down slowly. He didn't raise his voice. That was the thing about my son, he never needed to. "Funny," Ryan said, "because I don't remember you covering anything the last 3 times we've all gone out together, Grant. Not the anniversary dinner. Not Michelle's promotion party. Not Dad's retirement lunch, which, correct me if I'm wrong, you left before the check even came." Grant's smile faltered. "It was a joke. You've made a lot of jokes." Ryan's voice stayed level, almost pleasant, which somehow made it land harder. "The smartphone one at Thanksgiving, the truck one at Christmas. Should I keep going, or do you remember the rest yourself?" The table had gone completely silent. Even the waiter, hovering near the register, seemed to sense something was happening and stayed put. "I don't know what you're trying to do here," Grant said, some heat finally creeping into his voice. "I'm asking you to stop mocking my father." Ryan picked up the check, glanced at it, and pulled out his own card without breaking eye contact. "That's it, that's the whole thing." Grant laughed, but it came out thin. "Big man paying the bill, real hero." "I don't need to be a hero," Ryan said. "I just need you to understand that the next time you make a joke at my father's expense, I won't be this polite about it." Grant sat back, jaw tight, and for a second I thought that would be the end of it, a tense dinner, an early night, everyone pretending to forget by morning. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, Michelle called me crying. "Grant's been saying things," she said, "about Ryan, about you. He's telling people at his office that our family is unhinged. That Ryan threatened him at your birthday dinner. He's saying it to his parents too, Dad. His mother won't even look at me now." I felt something cold settle in my chest. Grant hadn't just been embarrassed. He decided to rewrite what happened, and he was using it to isolate my daughter from her own husband's family, painting us as the villains before we could say a word. Ryan didn't panic when I told him. He asked one question: "Does the restaurant have cameras?" It did. Ryan drove over that same day and asked to speak with the manager, a woman who remembered the table clearly, remembered Grant sliding the check across with 2 fingers, remembered his comment about things going over my head. She pulled the security footage without hesitation once Ryan explained why he needed it. And there it was, time-stamped, unedited, 12 minutes of exactly what had happened and nothing Grant had claimed happened. Ryan didn't send it to Grant. He sent it to Grant's parents. I found out later that Grant's father, a retired judge, had raised his son to believe that respect was owed automatically and never questioned. And watching that footage apparently broke something loose in him that 2 years of quiet family tension never had. He called Michelle directly, not Grant, and apologized on his son's behalf, then told her he'd be having a very different conversation with Grant that weekend. Whatever that conversation was, it worked faster than anything else had. Grant showed up at my house the following Sunday alone, without Michelle, holding a bottle of wine like a peace offering he wasn't sure would be accepted. "I owe you an apology," he said, standing on my porch looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. "I've been treating you like a joke for 2 years because it made me feel bigger. And that's not something I'm proud to say out loud, but it's true. I'm sorry. I didn't make it easy on him, and I wasn't going to pretend 2 years disappeared over one apology." But I let him in. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Ryan grew up doing homework, and Grant told me things I hadn't known, that his own father had spent his childhood making him feel exactly the way he'd been making me feel, that somewhere along the way he decided the only way to feel powerful was to hand that feeling down to someone else. It didn't excuse it. It explained it, which is a different thing entirely. Things are better now, not perfect, but better. Grant still struggles with his tone sometimes, old habits sitting closer to the surface than he'd like, but he catches himself now. He apologizes when he doesn't. Last month at Michelle's birthday, he made a toast and specifically thanked me for teaching him more about patience than he ever expected to learn from his father-in-law. Ryan just winked at me from across the table. I think about that birthday dinner sometimes, the check sliding toward me across the table, the laughter that made me feel about 2 inches tall. I think about my son walking in without being asked, setting down a gift bag and quietly, calmly refusing to let anyone shrink me down in front of my own family again. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He just made sure everyone in that room understood clearly and permanently that respect wasn't optional where his father was concerned. Grant learned that lesson the hard way. I got my dignity back the easy way because my son walked through that door at exactly the right moment and never once let it go.